Welcome, everybody. This is Matteo Vincenzo Sicilia from the Cosmic Psychedelic podcast, here to talk about fear and how to eliminate it and to help understand it. So the first question, what is fear? Fear is to say it from one of my favorite YouTubers, Infinite Waters, is false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym. So, fear usually arises when you are very uncertain of the future and the situation, and you start freaking out and overthinking, and you're just like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And it's usually never good. It's always bad. It's always like, okay, so what if I do this and it doesn't go this way, and then it just goes completely bad, and then you're just stuck in that situation and you can't advance. So luckily, your boy Matty Sick over here has a little bit of tips and tricks to get around this. So my experiences with fear, I get it all of the time. Fear is not a good thing to constantly be living in, because then it's just a false projection of how your life actually is. If you live in fear, everything is like taking a misstep. You're always looking at what if something is there instead of actually understanding what is actually there and taking that step into a better path, because that just helps you build better foundations for yourself, because foundations on fear always fall down. Foundations on truth and things like that, they'll never fall down, because it's true what it's made out of, instead of just some false beliefs made from fear. Me being an Aries really sucks with control issues, and I'm prone to fear because, as I said before, fear of the unknown of how something is going to turn out. And a lot of us fire signs, especially Aries and Leos, like, we need that kind of control grip in our lives, unless we'll like freak the fuck out. So we get into a lot of fear if we don't understand it. We're not in control, and we're like, oh my god, I have no idea, like, what's gonna happen, like, what if it doesn't go my way, what if it destroys me and stuff. Like, that's fear. Like, say if a situation arises that, like, you have to go pick up your friend from a party or something like that, and then you're in fear that they're like really fucked up, or like they hurt, or something bad happens, so you're just like anticipating that the whole entire time. Meanwhile, you get there and then they're happy, they're all good, like, you're just gonna drive them home, nothing bad happened, it was all a good party. And then what you experienced on the way there, all that anxiety and stuff, is just fear. False evidence appearing real. It's showing you, what if this has happened? It's kind of like your ego preparing you for the worst to happen. Meanwhile, it's not even, there's no evidence that it's going to happen. It's just you preparing yourself out of false pretenses that that specific thing in your mind is going to happen. And that's also a programming from how you were raised, and like different boundaries that kind of like got broken, that were never healed when you were a kid. And not even necessarily a kid, it could just be trauma that happened from another person, say from like that party that happened to, you know. It's like, I don't know, it's just some crazy shit that you like get when you're not in control, and you're just afraid of how everything's gonna happen. But things to curb this: number one, what evidence do you actually have for thinking about that? It's like, when you were going to that party and you were on the way there and you were thinking about all that fear of like what's gonna happen from that party and stuff like that, it's like there's no actual evidence that anything bad has happened. It's just a emotional reaction that you're getting in that moment. And it could be stemmed for something in the past that happened at a party to you. And then you're self-projecting that into your future, even though there's no chances of that ever repeating again. It's like it happened once, and then now you're afraid that it's always going to happen again and again and again, even though it's not going to happen. The only reason why it happens is because you're afraid of it happening, and then you're just kind of causing it to repeat, instead of just being fearless and making sure that it doesn't happen. You know? Because if you're afraid it's going to happen, you're more likely to slip and to not be fully there in the moment to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But if you're not afraid of it, and you're like, no, what are the odds of that actually happening? That's not going to happen. Why would it happen? And stuff like that. And be like, this is reasons why it's not going to happen that are rational. And if you get over that fear, then you'll be able to make better decisions in your life that are executed easier. And then you're just kind of like not always apprehensive towards everything that you kind of do. It's kind of hitting the nail every single time that you strike. Because then if you have fear, it's like always missing the nail every time you strike. Or you're anticipating and it's too late and the momentum's off. And you just kind of like, shit, I should just stroke when I had the chance, you know? But, other ways that I kind of got past fear was that, understanding that everything cannot be in control. It's like the more control you put on things, the more strained it gets. Life needs to go in a flow motion, in a flow state. And you being in control disrupts that flow state. So it's like everything is flowing perfectly in an ocean, or in a river to say, going all one way. And then your control is like putting a dam in between into that river. And it's like, no, I don't want it to go this way, so I'm going to put a dam here to block it. But over time, the water keeps pushing and battering against that wall. And eventually it's going to keep getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And then all of a sudden everything is just going to flood through. And you're just going to get swept away, and you're going to be freaking out. You'd be like, I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to stop this. I don't know how to get control. It's like, to avoid that, you got to let everything flow and just kind of go with the flow. It's like, see the direction everything is flowing and be on top of that, instead of being like, I know where it's going, I don't like where it's going, I need to fix this, and keep going against the river. It's like you're just going to get caught up in the ocean currents if you do that. You just got to go with the flow and just kind of master and be in control of where that flow is going to get the most out of life. Because control is also an illusion. It's like, it's thinking you are on top of something, but really you're not. The real control is letting go and understanding that you cannot control life in the situations. You can only control your reactions to how things are. It's like you can't control that something happened, but you can control how you react to that. It's like, okay, this happened. Am I gonna live my life in fear now because that happened? Or am I gonna understand that shit happens, and then I'm just gonna cope with it and heal from that trauma and get on with my life instead of letting it drag me down? It's because, like, when that river explodes because of that dam and you don't have any control and you can't go with that flow, it's like all that trauma and stuff that you have from that moment happening is going to be like cinder blocks weighing you down in the ocean current, and you're going to just get drowned. But if you let go of that trauma and you heal it, you release those cinder blocks and you're able to get above water and breathe for once. Another way that I eliminate fear is that I kind of sit in that emotion. Like, say for instance, I'm afraid that, like something happening in your relationship, like they're gonna go out to a party and like cheat or something like that, for example. Like, when I feel that feeling of dread, you can't push that away. It's because that's the fear trying to take over. It's your ego trying to take over in that moment, to be in control of your life instead of your soul space, instead of being in the now, instead of trusting that person that they're going to do the right thing. You're just letting your ego take over, and you're letting fear take over. And then it's going to cause you to make a lot of irrational decisions, and could cause you to lose that relationship because you did not trust that person. And that wasn't even in their mind. They just wanted to go to the party to have fun. It's like you just got to sit in that doubt and that fear and let it pass. Because we are not, another thing to understand is that we are not our emotions and our thoughts. It's like we're just the watcher, observing our thoughts that pop into our mind. They just pop in and out. They're not here to pop in and stay, and then those don't dictate who we are as people, because we have the choice to enact that thought or not. So if you have a bad thought and you enact on that thought, it's no other problem than yours, because it was your choice to enact that, to bring it into reality. It's like the devil didn't make you do it. No other demon made you do it. It was you. So just go into that feeling and just observe it, understand it, and let it pass. Because also when you go into it and you understand it more, then you realize that it wasn't even based in reality. It was just based on a past trigger that you had. And they're not going to cheat. They're not going to do anything. The only bad thing that'll happen is that you acting on that fear and acting irrationally and making the situation worse. Meditation helps so much with getting a third person point of view on a lot of situations that are scary like that. It allows you to get over the emotion and let it pass. Because emotion is just energy in motion. And once you learn how to observe that and get out of the way and let it pass, instead of not knowing what it is and just going in and just getting trapped in it, then your life will be so much better. Like me as an inner Aquarius, it's always like, I understand that like emotions are just energy in motion, and that like I'm able to detach from it, to be able to look at it and to understand it. But then sometimes the Aries pops in, and then he's just like, yo, what's good? And then all of a sudden the emotion's coming, and then they're like, yo, I'm gonna hit that thing head on. And then my Aquarius is like, bro, please don't do that. We're gonna get trapped in another couple of weeks of emotional shit. And then the Aries is like, I'm already in it. And then we're just getting trapped in a vortex. And then my Aquarius is like, again, we have to go through this. And then all my relationships get strained during that time. And I'm sure that other people go through that as well. It's like you keep getting trapped in, it's like you get trapped in the emotion, and then you don't know what the fuck is up. And then all of a sudden you're just distancing yourself, you're getting like all wild, and then your relationships getting strained again, your friendships are getting strained again, you're arguing with everybody, and it's just better to not get trapped in those emotions. Because a human in fear, you get put in your survival state, and that's not who you are as a person. So you're just trying to survive over something that wasn't even a problem in the first place. It's like you made it a problem, and now you have to suffer. And the more you keep putting yourself in these situations, the more you have to learn. And also putting yourself in, like, also going back to before, of when sitting in meditation, in that emotion, it also helps you understand what that emotion is more. So when that emotion comes up, you're able to kind of deflect that emotion. You'll be like, oh, it's fear, oh, it's anxiety, it's because of the past thing, I'm just getting triggered, I just gotta chill, take it easy, let it pass, and move on. Because another thing that I thought that, like, I've grown up with a lot of family members that just kind of ruin the moment, and when you're in the moment, like, you just go straight into survival mode, and then you're just like, being on top of your emotions is like being in the movie The Matrix, and everything slows down, you see everything going around you, and you're just like, okay, how do I fix this? I'm just gonna slow down, see everything for how it is, and go about it the way that it's supposed to be go about. But when you're in fear, you don't go into that matrix state of mind. You don't go into that flow state. You just go straight into it without thinking. You're just like, whoa, what the fuck? And then you just go, next thing you know, you're fighting someone. And then, like, something that I realized from learning that, yeah, because I used to be in, like, situations that people used to bring that survival mode out of me. And then I used to get into so many fights, and then I realized that instead of acting on that moment, just letting it pass, because, like, emotion is energy in motion, and energy in motion is just a moment, and a moment is just a brief period of time. So if you let that moment pass, everything will go back to normal after that. So instead of just, it's like you got to remind yourself that it's just a moment. It's not going to be forever. You just got to keep breathing, keep doing deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and get that good deep belly breaths. And then until they go away, or until that situation passes, or until you decide to just get up and remove yourself and just go somewhere else and just relax. Because, I don't know, you got to, like, feel out the situation. It's like, okay, are they just gonna be in here for a brief moment, splurge the room, and then just dip? Or are they gonna, like, be in the room for, like, a really long time, and you just gotta, like, sit there and take it, and you just have to leave? Like, you just gotta, like, see how the moment is projecting itself. And then, and just not letting that emotion get to you, and just not letting yourself be triggered, and just understanding that, say, if another person is triggering you, it's just like you gotta understand that it's not you, it's that other person is going through a tough time in their life right now, and they're self-projecting their own emotions and their own internal shitty state into the present moment to kind of bring everybody else down so they feel normal, so they don't feel as low, so they don't feel shitty. It's like they see all the success in everybody around them, and that everybody is doing better off emotionally. They're, like, embarrassed, probably, that they're still going through this stuff emotionally, that they're not over it, and then they kind of get frustrated, and then they just let it out, and it's not too pleasant, and it could cause other people to get, like, other hotheads like me, to get triggered and want to fight, because more than likely it's not only you that's getting dragged into it, it's other people that you love and care about getting dragged into it, so that triggers you to want to protect them. So it sucks. And it's just pretty much, to wrap everything up, it's just letting the emotion pass, understanding that emotions are only momentary, that they're not forever. Yeah, just pretty much understanding that feeling, and just, like, letting the fear play out in your mind, like, go into meditation and just be like, okay, oh yeah, another thing, just letting it fully play out in your mind to see where it goes, because it could be positive. It could be you just not understanding the situation fully, because what I said before, it's like false evidence appearing real. You don't have all the facts of the situation at hand, and you're just making a decision based on what you have, instead of waiting and seeing if it's actually true or not. Because when we always have our finger on the trigger, one little thing that scares us will fucking make us shoot. So we gotta learn how to have safety on. Yeah, I guess that's what pretty much meditation is, and getting over your fears is, like, pretty much having that safety lock on, so you don't constantly get triggered and just spew your shit everywhere and hurt other people with your words. Because our mouth is like a gun and our words are like bullets. I know a lot of people understand that, especially us fire signs. Am I right, people? Am I right? I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's just pretty much creating balance in the situation. It's like you always gotta feel yourself first before acting. It's like, oh my god, I'm triggered. I gotta check up on myself and figure out what the hell's going on before I go off the rails and derail myself. So we just gotta go with the flow of life. Take the path of like least resistance. What I personally do is that it's not like necessarily like go with the flow of life, like oh my god, go randomly anywhere that life is taking you. It's like you gotta set an intention and direction of where you want to go and just let yourself go into that direction and just let anything that comes in your way just come in your way. Learn all the lessons you need to learn and see where life's taking you, because we think we know where to go, but we don't know where we're actually going. It's like we just gotta put that intention out there, just go into that direction, because the universe will take us in so many different twists and turns that like will make us learn all these lessons and new people, and eventually we'll get to where we need to be. But we need to let life take us where we need to be to learn to be the best we can when we get to the destination that we are going to. Because if we go down that path and we're very controlling and like structured and just like we're gonna lose all the lessons, and the path is gonna take way longer, and you're gonna be more upset and frustrated, and it's not gonna work out, and you're gonna give up on your dream that was supposed to happen, and you're gonna be miserable for the rest of your life. Not because that your dream wasn't valid, it was because that the way you were going about it was invalid. I mean, just understanding yourself, understanding the emotions. It's like a process. It's like being in a situation, feeling the emotion like coming up, taking a step back, understanding that you're triggered, letting and seeing the emotion as passing. Look at the emotion as it's passing, be like, oh, that's anger. And just because that it's anger doesn't mean that you need to become anger. You just need to understand that anger is coming and it's passing, but you don't need to act on it, because you're the vessel for the emotion to project itself into the reality. Same with ideas. We're antennas for ideas to come into our brains for us to bring them into reality. So it's the same thing with emotions. If you don't allow the emotion to consume you, it won't be brought into our reality. It's just in the ether. So you can just watch it as it's passing and be like, oh, I'm feeling anger right now. But I don't have to enact that anger. And then just let it pass. And eventually, after you keep breathing, it'll just go away. And then every time you keep doing that, like in the beginning, you might not understand that it's like anger or some complex, because sometimes the emotion's so complex that it's not a basic emotion, that it won't be like happiness, sadness, anger. It'll be like a mix of different things that are just like a conglomeration of like different traumas that happened over the accumulation of your life. And you just need to pretty much just sit there, meditate on it, and just kind of like pick it apart and like trace it down back to the root. Because once you trace it back down to the root, then if you heal that, it'll go away. So sometimes emotions are like pretty complex like that, but most of the time if you're on top of your shit, it'll just like present itself like as a basic emotion and be like, oh my god, I'm angry right now. But like if you have a lot of trauma from back then, and like it's a specific situation that comes up, and like you feel like anger and also like anger and like depression and happiness at the same time, you're like, what the fuck is going on right here? Like that's when you need to sit down and meditate and figure out and pick apart those different emotions. Because then you're like, damn, this situation is deeper than what I thought it was. It's like I had whole other emotions that I didn't even know that was there. But you gotta sit there and understand that. And then the more you pick apart those emotions, and the more you understand how they feel, how they are, how you react to them, how they come about, and then it gets easier to be in control of your emotional state and to be more rational and just create that balance. Because it is, don't get me wrong, emotions are good, and we need emotions to power ourselves and to power our chakras and stuff like that. But like being in fear and just overthinking and stuff, like that's when it becomes out of balance. And then you need to use your rational side to kind of like put water on that fire. You know, it's like everything needs to be balanced. Too much of anything is too much. Too much love is too much emotion is too much rationality even is too much. getting over that fear and just letting yourself just kind of flow and understanding everything that happens in your life and why you react the way you do, and just being third person on top of everything and meditating and being able to breathe. It kind of like ground yourself, because with fear you need grounding. You need grounding and rationality, because that shit will go wild. It's like a fire. It's like you can tame the fear for a little bit, you can put it out, but if you don't look at it and deal with it, it's gonna go out of control and burn everything down around you. So yeah, our therapy session is up for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you all enjoyed and get something out of this. I do a lot of these because it really helps me as well. It's like a little therapy session event about shit that's going on right now in the moment. So it's pretty much like updates of like what I am learning as a person. So I really enjoy these podcasts, and I hope that you all enjoy them and learn something from them as well, and be able to take my lessons and my truths and to activate your own truth in your life. Because I know a lot of people like listen to podcasts and YouTube and stuff, and they're just like get all egotistical. They'll be like, "Oh, you tell me what to do. You tell me that my life is wrong. How I'm going about it is wrong." It's like not necessarily wrong. It's like everybody could use an open mind and to listen to someone else's perspective to help on their own perspective. Because like you could think that everything's going good, but then you hear someone else's story and how they got over it. You're like, oh shit, maybe I should try that. And then you try it, and all of a sudden your life's going much better now. It's always good to keep an open mind and do your research and get more information about everything. Yeah, thank you for listening. This has been the Wrath of Aquarius podcast, the Cosmic Psychedelic mini podcast. I have been your host, Matteo Vinci. I am signing out, so have a blessed day. Namaste.